And when I first met you, your brother was a comic book creator.
Yes,
And now all of a sudden you have your own book of poetry.
I do.
Were you jealous of your brother? You wanted to get in on the publishing deal, or how did this come to be?
So my brother and I are very similar. We're both creatives. We both like visual art and we love writing. His name is Juan, by the way. Check out his comic book. He's Conviction Comics. And he inspired me. He inspired me. He definitely didn't make me jealous. I am so happy about the success of my brother and sister, which I dedicated the book to, as you know.
So when you decide to write a book of poetry, from what I understand about poets, they usually have some type of deep-seated energy that comes from it. It's not just something like, I'm just going to write some poems and make it rhyme and that's it. It usually comes from a place that's deep within you. Did you always have that in you and you decided that this particular time was that you're going to write the poetry, or did you always have the poems and decided this was the time to publish?
That is a two-part question. I will start with the first question. Yes, I do feel like I've always had it on the inside of me since I was a kid. So I think I remember writing my first poem when I was 12. It was about my family, and it's always been about something that's close to the chest, you know? Poetry is very cathartic for me. So anything that inspires me or makes me feel anything, I have to write about it. That's how I process my thoughts and my emotions, is through writing. So poetry lends itself very well to that. And why I decided to publish now, everyone keeps asking me that. I guess I just got over the fear. A lot of the poems in the book I wrote 2017, 18, 19. So it's like a compilation of work that I wrote over a long period of time. Whenever I was brave enough to share it with people, they always said, why don't you publish this? And after getting that question enough, I realized, you know, because I'm standing in my own way, like a lot of us do. And the pandemic gave me time to sit down, edit, iron it out, and publish. So thanks, COVID.
Jen, you have a question?
I'll start off short, but not simple. In the intro, it's written, the prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Do you think that some people's prayers are more impactful or powerful than others?
No. And I think the reason why anyone would ask that question is how they define the word righteous.
Okay.
A lot of people think like righteousness comes from us, and it doesn't. So I think everybody's prayer is equally powerful. As long as it's genuine and coming from the depths of you,
Yeah.
I think it's totally powerful and received.
Even if you've sinned or killed or...
Oh, especially if you've sinned.
Yeah.
Who hasn't sinned?
Well,
Anybody
there's
who-
levels to it.
Anybody who prays has sinned. So
Yes.
that's not a fair question.
That's
I think
a good answer.
we're all big time sinners, and our and our prayers are all big time powerful.
Right.
Charlie?
As a writer, and I find this because I've been like this as a kid, was very, very creative. I could sit with nothing and create a scenario, and I could play with animate things and make stories. And very emotional and very compassionate. And this is a two-parter. Is that where this came from? Like, what you came, obviously, did you have family full of love and everything like that?
Yes, I would say my family was full of love.
Right, so you were emotional, you were compassionate, you learned that. So now sitting down, and I'm talking about when you were young and started, sitting down, did you sort of just do this on your own, were you in your own little private world and started this creativity?
Yes, I was always very introverted and inclined to being by myself. It's interesting, my parents always tell stories of when they would watch movies together as a family, and they'd be like, where's Naudy? So they'd go to my room and ask me, do you want to join the family for movie time? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm 7 years old. No, I just want to be by myself. I remember spending a lot of time by myself just thinking. and I was very imaginative and creative. Just, if I could put words to it now, I think I was just processing the world around me, events that had happened, how I was feeling. All of that happened in solitude. I'm still very much that little girl who likes to be alone and thinking.
You gotta be, now the next question is, did you ever get an idea for a poem? And you just got that idea, maybe you just got 2 lines, and nothing else was coming, and you walked away, and maybe like weeks later, you came back to it?
Absolutely. I would say even years later.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get like amazing lines, and you're like, oh, that's gonna be the big seller. I'm gonna publish that one, and you get stuck. You know, as a writer, writer's block is such a real thing. Sometimes you can't. Nothing else is coming out of you.
Right.
And I've learned to listen to myself and take my time. If it takes weeks or months or years, yeah, you revisit it, and it'll pop back into your thoughts when your brain is ready to give you more.
And you have enough respect for it not to force it, and you give it your patience, and then that's, yeah.
That's right. That is the typical writer's process, and I was talking about that with a friend last week. That's how most poems work, and most writing works. You put something down, you walk away, you come back, you add, you edit, you walk away, you come back, repeat until you feel like it's done. Although every writer knows you never feel like it's done, and you never feel like it's perfect, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There is one poem in the book where that didn't happen, and it's why it's one of my favorites. I remember I sat down one day and I wrote this whole poem beginning to end, and it just flowed, and that's so rare.
I know.
But it feels amazing, and so I still reread it. It's Alone, that's the name of the poem. I still reread it, and I'm like, it was like an outer body experience. I don't even think that was me. I don't know what wrote that poem.
Yeah, it's amazing. I worked on a song. I had a song. Took me 7 years to write. Then one day I'm sitting in my apartment watching my daughter, and I looked at her, and I wrote a song in maybe 10 minutes about her. And that's the same thing. Meanwhile, the other one was like 7 years. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and you wish it was always that way.
Yeah.
The 10 minutes, wow, I'm amazing. But it's so rare. I always think about how can we recreate that? But I think that's what's special about those pieces. It's like the spiritual part of art, where you realize you should get out the way. It's almost like it has less to do with you, and it's something bigger than you don't even understand. And you're like, wow. I think that's also what creates a lot of respect towards your work. Because sometimes you look at it and you're like, I don't even know if I'm that good.
Yeah, it was like somebody else was like whispering in my ear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand that.
Well, as you probably know, many people, probably thousands of people, think that a lot of written works and songs are not actually from the writer. They're from ancestors, spirits. So what are your thoughts on channeled writings, or the fact that someone in your family distant away, or just someone assigned to you? What are your thoughts on some type of spirit coming through you?
So I'm obviously no expert. I don't, I can't sit here and say I understand the spiritual realm or the spiritual aspect of writing or anything. I don't think any of us can. But human beings are spiritual beings, and we have these experiences, like I just shared with Charlie, where you're almost taken over by something. And I think a lot of artists have this experience, whether you're a painter or a songwriter, or you're playing an instrument, where you're just flowing in this state that is so unlike your normal state. And you kind of just go with it. I'm not sure what it is, but I do know that I believe art is spiritual. The same way a lot of things are spiritual, right? Sex is spiritual, and prayer can be very spiritual. All these things are spiritual. Art is spiritual that way too. It's in that category, at least for me. So there is a part of it that sometimes it feels transcendent and indescribable and powerful. And I think those are the works of art inspire and move and shake, shape culture. Those things that are bigger than us.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I could personally relate with writing jokes. Sometimes I've woken up with like very detailed, strange jokes, and they've gotten killer crazy laughs, and I'm just like, what? Why would I wake up with this whole thing? And it works. It really works. So I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe I'm given the ideas.
Perhaps, and I think it works because you're connecting to people, and like I said, we are spiritual beings, and we are connected on a plane that maybe we don't understand. But when you're able to connect with somebody, wow, like that's where the power is, and I think sometimes that power is outside of us.
Right. Well, yeah. If I have to pick an answer, I'll say yes, I think so. But who knows?
Because the alternative is like, oh, well, I'm amazing, and it all just came from right here.
That's true. Oh, yeah, that is true.
When people who write stories, they have usually years and years of backstories that never see the light of day. They have tons and tons of things that are just for the nuances of developing the character that never make it to the screen, never make it to the actual finished product. When you're writing poetry, how do you decide these poems will go into my book as opposed to these other poems? Or do they just all speak to you as a theme, like they're all coming in? How much is not in that book that's in you that will never see the light? They will never be seen anyone else.
There's a lot that's not in the book that I probably won't share. Like I said, poetry is very cathartic for me. So there are some things that you're not ready to share. Other things just don't read like poetry. They're like your diary entry, and maybe everybody doesn't need to read that. Sometimes it doesn't come off as cool enough, I guess. But yeah, there are years of poetry behind this book. I remember when I was in high school, I would go home every day after school and write for at least 6 hours.
Wow.
So I was not a cool kid. No.
6 hours? 6 hours
6
after
hours.
a school day?
After school, 6 hours,
Oh
8
my God.
hours, just writing. I enjoyed it. For me, that was play.
Wow.
And no one's ever gonna read that, obviously. No one. I mean, there's a lot of
I
grammatical
might like to read
errors.
it. I would probably rather read the stuff that you left out than because I like the behind the scenes usually more than the movie. So I would much rather see raw, real. But are you ready to share that?
It's important to hear that. Maybe I'll release the B-side.
Yeah, think about it.
Sides book.
People
But
like real.
They do, and my book is very real.
Still real. What you put out is still real.
Yeah, it's very
it comes
real.
off. Yeah.
It's very real, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have the thought in the back of my head of like, my parents are gonna
Yeah.
read it.
Oh yeah.
So, either way, it is very real. A lot of people read the book, reached out to me and asked me like if my mental health was okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're like, are you sad? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I wrote this poem in 2019.
Right,
like,
right.
I'm happy.
That's a good friend.
It is a good friend and family. Yes, I've had a lot of support surrounding this book and just in life.
So what is your litmus test for
Right.
bringing out poems?
I read and reread and reread and reread, and I don't know. It's weird. It's like this internal compass that tells me whether or not I should share it. For this book in particular, I was trying to tell a story. So the first 10 poems are telling a story, and then the last 2 poems are actually about a friend of mine who passed away during the pandemic. He died of coronavirus, and that's very like goodbye ending, closing the book. So with what I chose to include in the book, the litmus test was really, does this flow with the story I'm trying to tell? And that's a very clear, easy way, I think, to just, tie a project together. Moving forward, I'm not sure if that's going to be the strategy for what I'll decide to publish, but it made it easier with this book when I kept that in mind. I'm trying to tell a story. Anything that's deviating from the storyline gets cut.
So since the book was written digitally and it's on demand, did you have a page count that you have to think about? Or is just I just make it whatever it is and that's what it's gonna be.
I made it whatever it's gonna be. Like I said, whatever it took to tell the story. And it was, it's 20 poems? I forgot how many poems it was. Yeah, so I published it through Amazon, and they don't have a cutoff. You can publish a book as short or as long as you want. So I wish it would have been longer, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted it to be a little longer, but I cut a few poems. You actually asked me a question
Yes.
about that.
Yes, before the show began, I did ask about, there was a second or third part of a poem. I
Right.
didn't have the other part in it. I was like, did they mess up
Yeah.
in the printing of the book? And you said,
Yeah, so Mark asked me if there was a typo in my book, because there's a part 3, but there's no part 1 or part 2.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, I
and,
missed that.
and he's like, where are the other 2 parts of this poem? And I said, no, I decided that those I wasn't ready to share. Going back to Jen's question, I'm not ready to share those 2. Maybe one day I will be. Maybe if you guys show up to an open mic.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah, you'd be fun in open mic.
Thank you.
one of the differences I find, as we've been talking about, is that for a poem, for an author and a poet, it's more raw and emotional of putting yourself out there. When you're writing a story, you can hide behind the character. This is somebody I know, this is something I dealt with, this is sort of kind of what really happened, but not really. With poetry, I find it's a very, you're peeling away one extra layer.
Mm-hmm.
How do you mentally prepare yourself for putting that out there? Because you're like, this is me, sort of, but it is me.
Yeah, not sort of. Like, it is you.
Well, I mean, because even still, you just mentioned you're filtering, you're still telling a story, but there is one less layer, as opposed to when you're watching a TV movie or a song or something else. It's you. You're putting yourself there.
Yes, so I did expose myself, and that was the scariest part of publishing the book. It was the easiest part about writing the book, because you're getting everything off your chest. But it's the scariest part of publishing the book, because you read it and you realize, oh no, now everybody's going to know, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I've been through, who I am, my weaknesses, and that's scary. But it's also exciting. Like I said previously with Jen, it's those things that help you connect to others, that make your art powerful. And I told myself, if I don't expose myself, I'm not going to connect with people as deeply as I want to.
Sure.
That, I think, is the most important thing. Like, you're exposing yourself, but people who are reading this book that are saying, yeah, that helps them more than you know. Because people will go through things that they think they're the only ones.
Sure.
And when they find out there's somebody else who's going through that, so that can be the best part of what you do.
Yeah.
You reach other people.
So, and I thought about this a lot. The title of the book is Blackbird, Poems About Sitting in the Dark. And in my introduction, I end it by saying, thank you for sitting with me in the dark. Because, you're going to read about things that I struggled with, in an isolated, dark place. But I reminded myself through the publishing process of the reality that we all go through dark places. Mm-hmm. As a human being, you are going to experience loneliness, betrayal, heartbreak, depression, anxiety. You're nervous. That's all of us. And it's a lie that we tell ourselves, like, I'm the only one going through this. That's not true. And I want to be a voice that tells people, it's not true, I know it's not true. Thank you for sitting in the dark with me by reading this book. Let me sit in the dark with you.
Jen, you got another one?
I got a lot. I'll go for my longest one. So, say your name for me.
Naudy.
Okay, I just want to. So, Naudy Suarez. Okay. My great grandpa from the Philippines was Diego Suarez, and his daughter, my grandma, was Nettie Suarez. So maybe we're related. I see you dedicated your book to your proven relative. I'm not your proven relative yet, Erica.
We're gonna 23andMe this.
Right, baby. For my beautiful sister Erica, whose patient eyes read the poems of a 12-year-old girl and declared she was a literary giant. Here's one step toward becoming who you've always believed I could be. Towards becoming who you've always believed I could be. So, you published a book. Do you feel like now you are who you've always believed you could be?
So it's who Erica always believed I
Right.
could be.
Right, who she could believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I believe I am who Erica has always believed
Yeah.
I could be?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And why?
Because I was brave and I did something that I wanted to do. And I think my sister, my best friend, the person I love the most, she's just always wanted me to be free and courageous. And I think that exposing myself this way and believing in myself enough to publish was courageous and was freeing. So yeah, I think I am who my sister always thought I could be.
Winning!
Yay!
So, one of the things I know about you personally is that you left the country for a while.
Yes.
Where did you go?
Which time?
The last.
The last time. The last time I went to South Korea.
Wow.
Now, did you take the poetry of you to South Korea as well, or did you leave that behind, and that's a different Naudy?
No. So, same Naudy that's been evolving through her experiences. I actually reference Korea in one of the poems. I Run West, and the reason why it's titled I Run West is because usually when I run away from the country, which I've done more than once, I go west, I fly west, and I live in Asia. That's where I hide.
Wow. Can't say the same.
You got the last question for me?
Sure. Okay. You wrote, "Time teaches you what books cannot." Love that. Gonna quote you. On that note, would you ever date or mate with someone lacking 5 or 10 years of learning that you have under your belt?
Like would I date someone younger than
Yeah.
me?
Younger
Five
or
or 10.
younger maturity?
No,
Two
younger.
different things.
Younger because that physical time has to be there.
Okay,
It's
physical time.
physical
Got
time.
it. Okay.
Not trans. I identify as time.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah.
I just think about how much I've grown over the past 10 years. And it's been a lot. But everybody is different. So I would be open to dating anybody no matter what age.
Really?
Over, not in their 20s. I think it also changes when you get older because you have all these experiences and some people get stuck and they're like developmentally stunted and you can meet them at 50 but they
Sure.
think like they're 32.
Sure.
And you can meet somebody who's 40 who's been through so much and they're these and have done the internal work and the self-work and are these fully actualized amazing people and you're like, yeah, 40, I'll take you. I'll take you.
So no 20s. What about 30? Just turned 30.
Just turned 30. Yeah, I dated just. Ugh.
That's basically 29.
It's really-
She has dated, but did she enjoy it? I'm gonna say
No.
Yeah, is it a good idea to date someone in their 20s or 29?
It's not a good idea to date somebody in their 20s. Unless
Okay.
you're also in your 20s and you're willing to go through the grunt work of growing up together, which is
Yes.
hard.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through a lot of like big developmental milestones and building your finances and your careers, and that's a lot. It's obviously easier to meet later down the line when you've squared a couple of things out. But it's on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
You know, you can meet incredible 29-year-olds and terrible, 65-year-olds. You never know what's gonna happen out there. You gotta be open.
These are actually Amazon glasses, and I took notes, and I just put you on eHarmony.
eHarmony.
Yeah, you're now on eHarmony. I know exactly what you want.
All
Thank
right.
I believe we have a question from the studio audience. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was wondering, I've been hearing so much about your book, and I was a little bit curious. Would you mind exposing a little bit of it to us?
Oh, you want to read?
Anything that you
read a
think
passage?
that I'd
Yeah.
like to hear a little taste of this.
Yeah, let's
Sure.
read something. We have 5 minutes, so you can read one
5
part.
minutes. All right.
Just read one. We still have more show to do because we have to do social media stuff and we have to do the raffle. So
All right. I can read my favorite one. It's a
yeah,
little
yes,
long.
please.
let's go. Let's hear it.
But alrighty.
Let's hear it for the live studio audience.
Yay!
They seem a little excited to hear your story. I hope they're more excited after they listen.
Alrighty.
No pressure.
Here we go. This one's called Alone. For you, I find the strength to strive in places where I tend to run and hide. For you I find the courage to speak, to stay, to inhale the haze. For you I compromise. For you I lose some sleep. I tell you stories while I rub your feet. I keep dancing to your tune even when you miss a beat. For you, I court the hope you say you're bleeding. And you give me your backside while all of my insides are screaming, alone. I guess I'm home. I sit in the ache, swim in the lake of disappointment. Open my eyes every morning to see a kingdom fallen. I hear the blackbird calling me back into dreams where even still I am unaccompanied. Looking for a God to heal these wounds, I searched for the tall archer, the songbird, the angry snail. I said, yes, I'd love you even if you grew a tail. 2 cups of malt whiskey, 1 glass of white wine, cigarettes, and lie after lie. There's a lie in every line, but the replies feed my pride when your angry words make me want to die. All these words fill the space where I used to moan before you left me alone. The king has been dethroned. I walk through the blueprints of the palace we almost built alone. And I'm so hollow, from laying brick with the enthusiasm of my hips, I used to think I could trust you. Hands open, heart open, hope on high, but you broke my fingers, still my heart lingered until it turned to stone. I cried, alone. Where are your arms that used to want for me? You used to love me, that much I know was real. Now it all lacks zeal. I still remember when the passion was authentic, when you meant it. The joy was true, I felt it. Where did it go? I want you to know this field won't grow if you beat your farmhand down. And you call me a clown, but you're the one that jest. Yours is the worst kind of circus. Only the broken stay on purpose. I'm clinging to my chair, I'm gasping for air. I'm alone in the pain you inflict in my veins and in my bones. When affection is at bay, I feel the sharp stones cutting through the skin of my 2 hands, too small to grip your soul. I clasp too tight. You slip through my fingers after twilight. Where do you go to? Where do you go? I want to know how you've mastered staying while making me feel so alone.
Yeah. So where's that name?
Yeah, right.
Let's not.
Social media time. So where can people find you, more about you? Social media, where can people find the book? Go.
So I am on Instagram. It's Poesía con Paz.
All right, spell that out.
Yes. It's at POESIA_CON_PAZ.
And where can people buy the book?
Amazon.com. It's Blackbird, Poems About Sitting in the Dark by Naudy, Suarez.
All right, so we're almost out of time. So we have the raffle. You're so nice to give away a book, a signed copy, right? You're gonna sign it?
Yeah, I'll sign it.
All right, so yeah, everybody has their raffle. Pull it on out. Pull out the winner. See, we got a winner.
All right.
Winner
We
number
have
is
370943.
370943.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Winner.
So that is about it. So let's have a final thought. You have a final thought, Naudy?
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Jen, final thought?
I appreciate your depth. Thank you.
Charlie?
I just enjoy talking and listening to you so much. Get this lady's book now.
So we are out of time, but just make sure our next live show, courtesy of the East Meadow Public Library, will be next November 8th at 7 p.m. We'll have a voice actor, Mike Pollock, will be in person in the studio, so make sure you go to www.eastmeadow.info. Naudy, thank you for coming down. Thank you, live studio audience.
Yeah.
So that's our third on the Came From Radio. Join us next